My boss fired me without warning, and without cause. He thought I'd just walk away quietly, but instead, I walked straight into his biggest client's office and took everything from him. My name's Daniel. For the last 8 years, I worked as a senior project manager at a mid-sized software company in Chicago. I wasn't just any employee. I'd been there since the early days, when we were working out of a cramped office with flickering lights and secondhand desks. I built entire client relationships from scratch. I negotiated contracts, stayed late, and even worked weekends without overtime pay. All because I believed in the company. My boss, Carl, was the kind of man who took credit for everyone's hard work but somehow still made you feel like you owed him. 2 years ago, I landed the biggest contract in the company's history, a $5.2 million deal with a major retail chain called Blue Mart. That single contract kept the company afloat through 2 rough financial years. Everyone knew that Blue Mart was my client. My baby. I handled every meeting, every email, every emergency. Carl barely even knew the project details. About 6 months ago, the company started going through restructuring. In plain English, that meant Carl was looking for ways to cut costs without touching his own massive salary. He started hinting that some of the older employees were getting too expensive. I was 38, not exactly old, but I was one of the highest paid employees there on a random Tuesday morning. Carl called me into his office. He didn't even look me in the eye when he said, "Daniel, we're letting you go. Your position has been made redundant." I sat there in shock. Redundant? I was literally in the middle of negotiating Blue Mart's contract renewal, the one deal that kept us afloat. When I asked why, Carl smirked and said, "Don't take it personally. It's just business." Later that day, I found out from a coworker that Carl's nephew, a fresh college graduate with 0 experience, was being moved into my role. He wasn't just replacing me. Carl wanted his own family member to take credit for my work, including the renewal of the Blue Mart deal. Carl thought firing me meant I'd lose everything. But here's what he didn't know. I had built such a strong relationship with Blue Mart CEO, Linda Harper, that she had my personal number, and she trusted me more than anyone at the company. I also knew every detail of their upcoming contract, their pain points, and their future expansion plans, and I knew exactly how to use it. 2 days after getting fired, I called Linda. I told her I was no longer with the company. She was shocked. "Daniel, you've been the only reason we've stayed with your company this long. What happened?" I explained carefully without sounding bitter, that I was available for private consulting if her company ever needed direct support without middlemen like Carl. She didn't even hesitate. "Daniel, come in tomorrow. We need to talk." The next day, I walked into Blue Mart's headquarters with my portfolio. I laid out exactly how I could handle their software needs personally, or with a small specialized team I could assemble. Linda leaned back in her chair and said, "How soon can you start?" By the end of the week, I had a signed contract, personally worth $1.8 million over 2 years, with the exact same client Carl had been counting on. A month later, Carl called me. His voice was sharp and panicked. "Daniel, did you talk to Blue Mart? They've terminated their contract with us." I smiled. "Carl, it's just business. Don't take it personally." He hung up on me. Without the Blue Mart deal, Carl's company couldn't survive. Within 6 months, they'd laid off half their staff and sold the office building. Meanwhile, I built my own consulting firm, hiring some of my old coworkers who'd been treated poorly. We thrived, and Blue Mart became our biggest client. Carl thought he could replace me with family and still keep my clients. But he forgot one thing: relationships aren't owned by companies. What would you have done if your boss fired you without warning?